So let's see. I am going to go over color switch, some details on that, who I am as far as my background and how I got into games and design in this industry, and then what I call mindset design, because what I realize is to create anything, you must first design the right mindset to create it. And there are a number of principles I utilized before I had this game that got me to this idea. And then since it's come out, there's things I've learned by looking back at the process. So, color switch. I originally made it it cost me $3,000, so that was the software. I couldn't even afford an artist at the time, so that's why the shapes are so simple. You know, there's free software, just draw a circle, export it, and I'm a graphic artist. So that software is BuildBox, and great piece of software if you don't know how to program, like me. To this day, I think we're at about 170 million downloads since it launched in December 2015. I think we were in the top 10 last week again, so we've been up in the charts. I think we were number one for about a month in the U.S., the overall app. One of the top games, 2016. And yeah, that's a couple details on that. My background, I've done a few things in life before I got to games. I'm actually a high school dropout with a 4.0 is an A, so I had a 0.8 GPA when I dropped out. That's not easy to do, so thank you very much. I've been playing guitar since I was 17. I was an Army medic. Does everyone know what a medic is? Is everyone awake out there? They're all partied up. Drink your coffee. Okay, good. So I was a medic, went to Iraq in 2005. I was a amateur filmmaker before I got into games. I worked as a magician for a number of years. I think I started studying it when I was a medic in the Army. Yes, find a seat, thank you. Right up front or in the back. Do you got Toastmasters out here? Yes, no? You can talk to me. I'll allow it. No? Toastmasters is an international public speaking organization. So you go there every week and you work on different presentations that you'd like to do as a speaker, and you get used to speaking in front of people and whatnot. So I've been doing that for the last 6 years.
Like TED Talks?
What's that?
Like TED Talks?
Yeah, like TED Talks. I was a theater major. Went to Cal State Northridge in Northridge. And one of my last jobs, I was cleaning swimming pools in Southern California. We got a lot of pools to clean, so if you had seen me a couple years ago, I would have had a big net and just like getting the leaves out. And worked as a limo driver and a valet. That was my last job. I was literally parking a car when my game went number one. I was like, well, I better keep this job until I'm sure this game stuff works out. And now a game designer. So a varied past. And I like to share that because I don't have a history in games I think I got into this industry back in 2013, I think July. So I don't have a background as a programmer or any kind of designer before then. And it just goes to show if you focus on something, you can accelerate quickly by kind of getting rid of everything else you're doing and just focusing on one thing. Okay, mindset design. From a game designer's perspective, I look at everything as a design, and I whether it's a chair, a person, any kind of object in this room, there is a very specific focused design. And again, you have to, if I want to design chairs or computers or tags, I have to focus on specific things to create that design. And so I have come up with and discovered a list of principles that can be utilized to design anything. So, mindset design. Number one, you have to improve how you think. There's a famous definition for insanity. I don't know if you guys know it. Maybe there's a Russian version. It's doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. You may have heard of this one, yeah? There's a missing piece to that. And it's very simple, but most people miss it their entire lives, and they never get to that breakthrough they're working for, or they're trying to get to. And it's you have to improve how you think. If you don't change how you think, your current thinking will produce the same result. But by putting new information in your brain, learning new information from a very varied amount of sources, books, things you watch, people you talk to, you gradually change and improve how you think, and then the result gradually changes until you get to that breakthrough. So, consciously being aware of improving your thinking is the key. And it's very important. And that's how you get a big change in what you're doing in business or in your personal life or whatever. And when I say consciously thinking about the information and utilizing it, that's what I mean by passive intake versus active intake. If I watch a television show and I don't work in the film or TV industry, then I'm kind of just passively watching all the Netflix shows, right? I'm not really thinking too much about it. It's just entertaining me for that moment, and then I go off into work or whatever. Now, if I'm a writer and I'm watching House of Cards, for example, then maybe I sit there and I analyze each of the characters, how their character arc happens throughout the series or the season. There's a myriad of questions I would ask as a writer, or maybe I'm a cinematographer and I'm analyzing the lighting in the different scenes and whatnot. So if I think from that perspective, then I'm actively intaking the information and using it. So there's a big difference between those two. This is actually one of the most important concepts of my presentation, and just by a show of hands, who knows what conceptual blending is? There's not one hand. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we got one hand. There we go. Yes. Okay, we got two. All right. Almost feels like an auction. 50, 100. Conceptual blending. This is the core of all creativity. And you don't have to be an artist to use this, although everyone is an artist in whatever they do. But being aware of this is giving yourself the power to create whatever you want. And conceptual blending is very simple. It's taking a concept here and a concept over here, putting them together to create a new concept. So if I took this chair, it's got this fold-out kind of little table like you have in, when you're in elementary school. And if I took a computer, on their own, they're separate ideas, each one has its function. But if I put them together, your brain does this magical thing called conceptual blending, where it takes unrelated concepts and starts blending them together, and now you have a hybrid concept built off of those two, or more. It could be these two or three or four things. So maybe the table itself, maybe this is now a smart screen. Maybe if you took a mobile phone and combined it with the chair, maybe it has LED fabric that displays information. Maybe it displays how hot the chair is. Maybe you can have a temperature setting and you could cool down the chair or heat it up. I don't know. You just start listing these things. Ideas just pop in your head. Try it. Go out and when you go into the conference hall and just look at random things and put them together and see how things just pop up in your mind. That's why I say it's kind of a magical thing, because your brain just does it, and then you can actually consciously work on popping these ideas up too. But conceptual blending is what this book Thinker Toys is all based off of. This is a book filled with creative thinking techniques, and each one of these techniques helps you tear apart ideas or rearrange ideas, manipulate ideas in different ways, powerful ways. It's almost like, I would liken it to a mechanic who goes to work on a car. Have you ever taken your car to a mechanic and let's say he's got to take the engine out? Have you ever seen him do it with his bare hands? He starts like turning the nuts and tossing them to the side and picks it up and everything. He's got a set of tools to do all these things. It'd be impossible for him to take apart the engine. So if you think about yourself, why would you attack your business problems without a set of tools to help you think of the right solutions to your problems? So Thinker Toys is just one of those examples, and that's the book I use for all my problem solving. And it's just a book full of creative thinking techniques that will help you find the best solutions to whatever problems you're focused on. And without something like this, again, when you come to attacking your problem, you are going without a set of tools. So this is something that anyone can utilize. It's not just for the app industry. Couple tools from the book that I used are Slice and Dice and Scamper. I don't have too much time to go into examples, but they're super simple to use. Slice and Dice breaks up an idea into all its attributes. So if I took a glass, I could say, okay, a glass is made, if I broke it, if I sliced and diced it, it's material, shape, size, weight. It's used for putting liquids into. It's handheld, it's lightweight, it's a product that you sell it worldwide. You just list all these different attributes. And now what that does is it gives you all these perspectives, if you are a glass maker, to attack your problem of, how do I develop a new type of drinking glass? And then Scamper, whereas Slice and Dice breaks up all the idea into all the pieces, Scamper lets you take any one of those pieces from the list. If I have a list of 100 attributes, I just take one of the pieces and I can now manipulate it in different ways. And each one of those letters stands for a different way you can manipulate it. So if it was material and it's glass, and I took the S of Scamper, that means substitute. So what would I substitute glass for? It could be wood, it could be metal, it could be a synthetic material, it could be a bendable material. Maybe it's sticky. Maybe I want to design a glass that I can just stick to the wall when I don't want to drink it. And I designed this material, this synthetic material, that not only does it kind of change its shape, but it'll match whatever I stick it to, and then it just stays there, right? And just by taking one attribute and manipulating it one way, you have a completely new idea, and that could be a multi-million-dollar idea, a multi-billion-dollar idea. One of my favorite techniques from Thinker Toys is a technique called false faces, and it's based off of taking an assumption about your problem and flipping it. And if you think about all the different things we have assumptions on, we have assumptions about ourselves, people in this room, the industry, family members, any kind of product you've ever seen. We all assume different things about them. And if you take one of those assumptions and flip it, you can have a very powerful idea. So if I want to design a new car, and one of my assumptions is people drive cars, and I flip it to cars drive people, now I have automated cars. And if I was the first person to think of that, well, that's a multi-billion-dollar idea. So again, by using these techniques that everyone can understand how to use with a couple readings, you can start to change and grow how you think and change your perspective so that you are able to have a chance to get to those solutions for the problems you're focused on. And without being aware of techniques like this, then you're that mechanic who just is really trying to get that engine out of the car and not using any of the available tools. Okay, the infinity principle. So if I take the glass as an example, what this means is, I don't know, I'm sure this has been said in some other way. This is just what I call it, but it's looking at a concept and realizing that that's only one of an infinite amount of variations of what that concept can be. So if I take a glass and I look at it as a glass, That's only one thing. And most people look at a glass or a chair or a computer as one thing. But if you understand this, then you know that, okay, you consciously think, okay, this is only one interpretation of what a glass is. What if I made a glass that has hover technology or has smart technology? Maybe I make a smart glass that has all these different readings about the liquid in there. Maybe it has the chemical composition of the liquid. I don't know. Maybe the glass has lighting technology in it. When you realize that you can conceptually blend, I take a glass and I just have a list of concepts and I just take one at a time and kind of just start generating ideas. That's what the infinity principle is. Realizing that any concept is only one of an infinite amount of variations of what that can be. And again, it goes back to assuming things. Now you challenge your assumptions of what you think something is, and you can flip it on its head and come up with a lot of things. What all this does, if you do these things on a daily basis, you create fluid thinking. And you're not chained and locked into looking at things in a crystallized way. We grow up and we're often taught in school that A plus B equals C, and that's it. And so you create this really rigid, crystallized thinking. And what all this does is it kind of takes a hammer to that and shatters it so that you can start thinking fluid again. And again, change the way you think so that you change what you do in your business and in your life. I definitely didn't think of this. There's some old Chinese proverb that I got this from, but I call it the 99.9% principle. And what this means is no matter how successful you become in your business or in anything, you should always assume that you don't know 99.9% of the information for whatever your skill is or whatever your expertise is. And that's true. There's always way more information you don't know about anything. So if you ever get an ego about something, that's a sign that you forgot this principle. Because if you have an ego about something, then you think you have all the answers. And when you think you have all the answers, you stop learning and you stop growing and you stop changing the way you think. So you should always assume you don't know way more than you actually do. And what that does is it ensures that you'll continue to learn. And what this all means is you're also going to be open to a lot of sources of inspiration. There are so many things out there that can inspire you, but if you're not looking for them, if you're not tearing ideas apart, if you're not changing ideas and conceptually blending and doing all these things, then you're going to miss out on all the sources of inspiration. And a work, if you look at any big work from that most people know around the world, it's often, if you look at the details, highly inspired. The person was inspired by a variety of things. And so doing all this is very important to create an inspired work, because that's what people get touched by, an inspired work. Again, not original to me, but this is what I call it. It's the laugh principle. Learn, apply, fail. The bigger and the more lofty the goal, the more failures lie before you get to the goal. So if you give up after a certain amount of failures, you'll never get there. So you have to understand that it's a constant, endless cycle of learning, applying, and failing. You learn something, you apply your current understanding, and then you're going to fail. What did I learn from that failure? And then you loop it. I always tell people that Color Switch is a product of thousands of failures throughout everything I've done. But if I had quit one of those, as I was cycling through all those, I never would have gotten to that idea. Okay, how am I on time? Just to make sure. A few minutes, okay, let's speed through this. That's a polite way of hurry up. Okay, game design tips. You got to play and analyze games. I think I have a 240 gigabyte iPhone or whatever the big one is, and there's like 20 gigabytes left. It's all games, so I'm always downloading games and analyzing. You got to fail a lot and fail quick. You can't. I think the mistake is spending 6 months, spending a year on one game. You should make a bunch of games, because by going through the process a bunch, That's where you learn. I made 40 games before Color Switch, and then there's hundreds of games on my computer that I didn't even publish. Utilize creative thinking techniques, as I discussed. Look at what's been done and improve upon it. You don't have to create something completely 100% innovative, but look what the market wants. Look at these like a game type and do something new with it. And often, for Color Switch, for example, there's tons of games where you're tapping the screen and something's going up. But I looked at other sources, like the Gmail, Google loading icons, a color changing ball. I looked at Uno. I looked at the game Simon. I tore all these ideas apart and I took different things and did something different with that game type. Listening is very important. And I took improv over at Second City, some improv classes, and the number one most important skill is listening. If I don't listen to the person on stage with me, how can I respond to what they're giving me? So you have to listen to your other people, the world around you. You have to, again, it all ties in. It assumes that you're assuming that you need to learn, that you don't know all the answers. So if you're assuming that, then you're listening and you're learning. You have to enjoy what you're doing. If you don't, then I don't know how you're going to get all the energy necessary to have that breakthrough. If you don't love what you're doing, you should probably keep looking and find something else. I listed all the things I did before. I didn't really love any of them, but I was just trying all these different things until I kind of honed in on something that really connected with me, which was video games. You have to you also have to pick the right problem. If I want to, let's say you want to travel the world and work for yourself, and you decide, okay, to solve that problem, I need to I'll become a full-time plumber. Maybe that's not the right solution for the problem, or maybe there's a combination of problem solution. That's how I think about everything. Do I have the right problem I'm solving, and do I have the right solution that goes with that problem? You have to have both. If you don't know exactly what you want to do, you might want to sit and kind of articulate that for yourself. Make sure you focus on the right problem for your business, and then also you need the right solution. And as you're doing all this, don't get like I would get stuck in just looking at my computer 15, 20 hours a day as I was designing games, and after a while I realized I got to get out, I got to do other things, and that's when I started taking improv classes and whatnot. If you do one thing and that's it, you'll kind of go crazy, like I almost went crazy. But I think you have to, if you're going to be inspired, you have to be exposed to a lot of different things. So don't get stuck in one daily routine. And I think everyone should realize, we all have this supercomputer that we're born with. We have this brain, and this brain is the only known thing in the universe that can take a concept and take that concept and create it into a physical reality. Look at everything in this room. Everything in this room started as a concept in someone's mind, and now it's here. So when you realize that, then you also realize that, okay, yeah, if I do this and that and create thinking techniques and change the way I think, what I change in my reality, or what happens, what I create in my reality will change and get better and better. And everyone has this. And if you're building games, a lot of this stuff can apply if you're not building games, but if you are building games, you have to build games. You can't just think of games and then not make any. You actually have to go through the whole process too. So this is Game Design School for under $100. That was pretty much my game design education. The Art of Game Design and Thinker Toys. The Art of Game Design will help you get a deep understanding of a variety of perspectives on game design, and then Thinker Toys will help you generate ideas for games or ideas for anything. And if you use that on a daily basis, you'll look back a year later, 2 years later, and you'll see how much you've changed your thinking. And then, again, always understanding that you need to learn more. So this is just part of my library of continued education, reading video game history and a variety of topics on video games. And there's me doing valet work. You thought it was just theatrics. This is real life, people. that was my last job. That's what I was doing when my game went #1, and then I think I put in my notice after that. But so again, I'm not just saying these things in like a self-help, feel-good kind of way. I actually did it. I changed the way I thought, and then I changed what I did to here. So, you know, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And I strive to continue to change my thinking on a daily basis, because who knows what's next. And that's what I have for you. I hope you enjoyed.